Okay, good morning. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Committee members with us today are Danny Bellissimo, Laura Alderson, Don Taylor, and Neil Palmer, and I am Michael Clark, the panel chair. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto was called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wishes to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB in the event of an appeal will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure will be as follows. I'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and makes a presentation to the committee of the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the applicant is then taken into committee for a decision. Okay, some preliminary business. Do we have any minutes to approve? I believe we have 2 minutes to approve. I don't know if they've all been, if that's ready. Staff? Minutes? Do we have any minutes to approve? Okay. Deferral requests, we go do that now or as we go through the applications? I think I know we have at least a few that are going to be deferred. Okay, so well, maybe this way we can clear those people off the line and they don't have to stay on. I have a note that item 13 may have to be deferred. 14 and 17 are the possibles. Okay, let's call item number 13, 85 Kingsway Crescent. And the speaker, we only have one speaker registered, Ian Robertson, the agent.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. It's Ian Roberts. Ian Robertson and the agent acting on behalf of the owners for 85 Kingsway. So I guess you guys want a presentation?
Well, you're in support of your request to have this matter deferred, right? Are you seeking a deferral?
No, we're not.
Okay, we're not. Okay. Okay, I had a note here. Okay, this is one where I guess planning is recommending refusal of the 2 major variances out of the 8, which would, I guess, take it as a refusal of the entire application. Okay, so that one is not a request for deferral.
Well, there are
I think there was some issue about this. No, it wasn't about the secondary suite. That was the previous application. Okay, item number 14. Sorry, Mr. Robertson. We'll get back to you in due course. Okay, I thought your item was going to be deferred. That's why I was calling you first. Okay, item number 14, 33 Carlson Court.
Yep.
We have a deferral request from the applicant on this application. And
yes.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. Can you please state your name to start off?
Yep, I'm Bill Dalton. I'm a planner with IBI Group, and I'm agent for Mango Hotels, the owner of 33 Carlson Court.
Okay.
And we're seeking a deferral of this matter, sine die, as the client requires additional time to comprehensively amend their development plans that have been impacted by the ongoing pandemic.
Okay. Committee members, any questions of Mr. Dalton on the deferral request? And if not, can I have a motion to defer the application? I guess the next available date, sine die. Once Mr. Dalton is ready, he will contact staff and let them know he's ready, and they'll put him on the next available agenda.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Moves for deferral.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Ms. Alderson, I see your hand up.
Happy to second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. I don't see Neil, but I assume he's in favor of that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dalton. We'll see you back here another day. There was? Okay. Okay. And also I see then where someone penciled in Lauren Pitana, 400 University. So there was actually 2 speakers. So, okay, didn't realize that. Why don't we just weigh in with Heather Garrett on this issue? Okay. Okay, anyway, I don't think there was any issue about the deferral, so there's no...
Hello, good morning. This is Lauren Pitana. Lauren Pitana and Heather Garrett, we both are represent the owner of the property next door, and we have no issue with the deferral. So we'll Heather's logged off, and I'll do the same now.
Okay, thank you. So you're representing. You're a lawyer. Are you a lawyer? I see your address is 400 University. So I assume you're not a neighbor.
I'm not. No, I'm not a lawyer. I work for Crown Property Management Inc., who represents the owner of the asset.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and item number 17, 44 6th Street. I see that that is a situation where the neighbor has advised that the sign has not been posted.
Hello?
Hello.
Hold on.
We have the agent on this side at Tomas Goral, and we also have the neighbor at 46th Street registered on this matter. Mr. Goral.
Speaking.
I understand you, is this matter going to be deferred? The sign was not posted?
No, we had the sign posted. We'd like to go forward today.
Okay, staff, okay, well, I guess we'll get to it. We do have a letter from, with a picture, I believe, a photo advising the sign was not posted. So you have signed the sign declaration? You or your client?
The homeowner did, yes. I did not, but the homeowner signed it, and he had posted it, and then I had emailed it, yes.
Okay, so we'll get to you later this morning. We'll come back to you then. I guess
yes.
There's no
okay.
need to defer this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any declarations of interest of staff or panel members on the matters before us this morning's agenda? None to declare? Okay. In that case, we can start hearing the applications. First application is item 153 Buttonwood Avenue. It's an application to construct a detached dwelling with an integral garage. And we have on this application 6 variants. There were 7. We have revised zoning notice and revised plans. And we have correspondence, supplemental material, applicant's presentation, and 5 neighbors in support. And we have urban forestry requesting condition number 3. We have 1 speaker, Graham Barrett, the agent. Mr. Barrett, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. I think I should give you a brief presentation because we have made a couple adjustments to address planning concerns. I mean, those are outlined on the zoning notice in front of you.
Yeah, we have the we have the yellow highlighted page just showing the changes, which is the reduction in variance 3 and variance 4 and the elimination of variance 6. So I don't think you have to go into that. Perhaps let's just see if anyone has any questions for you.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Unless you'd like to add something before that, please go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
Just that this is a very strange lot with an odd configuration. The existing dwelling that projects quite far out in front, and we'll be improving that condition. Also improving the west side yard setback from what is existing. This property has been very problematic for these owners. They hoped to build an addition, but discovered the state of the home and the foundation rendered that unfeasible. As I mentioned, I worked with planning and made some concessions to address their concerns. It's a difficult one to work with because 3.96 meters of front yard is required to be set back for future road widening. So that poses a bit of a challenge. Beyond that, as you mentioned, we do have some support. This is comparable to other approvals in the area and a similar built form nearby. And it'll be a very tasteful and much needed update to this property. And it does pass the 4 tests in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Any questions, panel members for Mr. Barrett? And if none, is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And there is an urban forestry condition on this, urban forestry 3.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval of the revised application for variances 1 through 5 and 7, subject to urban forestry condition number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson,
Happy to support that motion.
thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval provided Mr. Palmer's in support. So while we don't have a visual on you, Mr. Palmer, if you wish to weigh in anything different, then you can just pipe up. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Barrett. Your application is approved. Okay, our next application is item number 2, 1621 Albion Road. And this is an application for a 1-story east side addition. And there are 6 variances. We have a revised notice. We have correspondence and a transportation study, and transportation is weighed in to advise they have no objection with the application, and that's all we have. We have 2 registered speakers, Nolan Bentley, the agent, and again, another agent available for questioning. So I guess it's not a neighbor with any concerns or questions, but just 2 parties on the same team. So is Mr. Bentley there, or Mr. James?
Yes, good morning.
Who's going to be speaking, Bentley or James?
Good morning. My name is Nolan Bentley with Dickinson Hicks Architects. I will be speaking. As you said, it's in regards to 1621 Albion Road. Toronto West Seventh-day Adventist Church has been located at 16 Albion Road for decades and has become an important and consistent institution in the Rexdale neighborhood. Over the last several years, they have experienced a need to renovate and expand their facility to be able to continue at their current location. From the beginning of the process, the City of Toronto has been supportive of this project, and we've been working through the SBA process since the beginning of 2019. For the church to continue to exist on this site, these zoning variances are required.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bentley? Or is someone ready to make a motion?
I'm happy to make that motion. I believe transportation is now okay with the transportation variances, and there was nothing from community planning. So I believe it meets the 4 tests, and I'm happy to make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Mrs. Alderson. Seconder for that motion. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Bentley. Okay, item number 3 is 72 36th Street. It's an application to construct a partial second-story addition and to extend the existing front porch. There is only one variance. The floor space index is off by 0.02%. The air times the area of the lot. We have one speaker, Mark Lilly. We have the Long Branch character guidelines, and that's all we have on this application. Mr. Lilly, welcome.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Okay, very straightforward application. You're over by about 11 square meters. Otherwise, your application complies with the zoning bylaw. We have the Long Branch character guidelines checklist. And let's just see if there's anything you'd like to advise committee before I just open it up to see if anyone has any questions for you.
No, I don't have any additional information other than to say it was a 1.5 story house that we basically filled in the second floor plate, most of it. And again, we are just over 0.02 on the floor index.
Okay, thank you. And committee members, any questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I find the variance to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval of the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Lilly. Okay, item number 4 is 54 Batavia Avenue. It's an application to construct a 3-story south side addition, a 2nd-story rear addition, a partial 3rd-story addition over the existing dwelling, and a new 3rd-story front balcony. There are 5 variances. We have revised plans, a cover letter, which is supplemental material, applicant's presentation. Planning is requesting a condition of approval to be constructed in the event of approval, constructed as illustrated on the site plan for this site, as it relates to the proposed building length. Okay, which includes the covered platforms. We have 1 letter of opposition, 9 letters of support, and the party in opposition is the right next door neighbor at 52 Batavia and is registered to speak. And Urban Forestry finally is requesting a condition number 2.
Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt, the neighbor at 52 Batavia, we do not believe that she is online.
Okay, we do have a letter of opposition, so members can have read that and can make reference to that if she's not on the line. So let's go to the agent, Graham Barrett. Welcome back.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and committee members. Okay, so I think the important thing to mention here, as for the 1 letter of opposition from the neighbor, the owner has spoken with her and addressed her concerns, and she has since submitted a letter in support. So that is now one of the letters of support that has been submitted. Part of this had to do with the location of a basement walkout on the side of the house, which has since been relocated to the rear, which is one of the later versions of the plans that were submitted. They're dated May 25th, 2021. So those are included in my submission. So we've addressed the neighbor concerns, and we no longer have any opposition.
Right. Well, yeah, I note that the email of opposition was dated May the 14th. We now have an unsigned, an undated, I believe, but I'll take your word for it that it's retraction. Usually they would say I retract my letter, but we'll take your word for it, and she is not on the line, so.
Right, well, we were happy to address her concerns. The owner was very pleased to work with her.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. It's always good for neighbors to cooperate on these matters.
Absolutely.
Committee members, anyone have any questions for Mr. Barrett on this one, or is someone ready for a motion? And there is urban forestry condition number 2, as well as the planning, as well as planning. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Barrett referred to revised plans dated May 25th, 2021, and we have a condition from community planning tying approval to plan submitted April 29th, 2021. So I guess I have a question of staff, really. Would it be appropriate for us to amend the planning condition to refer to the May 25th, 2021 date?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the plans were received May 27th. The plans in question appear to be dated the 25th, but if the committee's condition is that they are the plans received on May 27th, that would work.
Let's see, it's usually referred to as submitted, the date it was submitted, and I guess I don't know if it's usually dates, it used to say in date stamped, so the April 29th is
And
that. So this staff is good question for Mr. Taylor to make sure that the condition jives with the correct plan. So we want to just confirm that. So Mr. Barrett, you say everything is fine because the April 29th date is the correct submission date? We're talking about the same plans, right?
There was
May 27th.
There was a change. Yes, the later version. Let me just take a look at the AIC for the date. The only change on those plans was relocating the basement walkout. So where are the plans here? Oh, I'm sorry. Just one moment, please.
Mr. Chair, I believe that the major changes was some screening that was added in for the May 25th plans that were received on May 27th.
Yes. So we have the right plans being referenced to in the condition. That's what I guess Mr. Taylor's trying to ascertain. And it relates to the building length, including the front and rear covered platform. So let's make sure it's the right one. Is everyone confident we have the right plans being referred to?
Yes, the May 27th plans are correct.
So in essence, Mr. Chair, the date of the report with the recommendations of April 29th should actually be May 27th, received May 27th.
Okay. Is everyone happy with that? Mr. Taylor, you're happy with that? Thanks for pointing that out. It's a very, so that should be changed. It should be submitted May 27th instead of April 29th. Can staff confirm that?
Yes, that's my understanding. Mr. Barrett can confirm that the changes made between the April 29th and May 27th plans have to do with screening that was added in, and that the relocation of the basement entry and no additional variances have resulted from that.
Okay,
that is correct.
Okay, is that Mr. Carvalino speaking because he didn't identify himself? Is that okay?
Oh,
okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, it is Mr. Carvalino.
Okay, thank you. Okay, committee members, with that change, is someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I find the variances requested to meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition number 2 and the condition requested by community planning dated May 25th, 2021, changing the wording in that recommendation by deleting submitted April 29th, 2021, and those words replaced with received May 27th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
That would be my motion.
Thank you. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Okay, our next application is item number 5 362 Olivewood Road. It's an application to permit vehicle car sales or a vehicle dealership within the existing vehicle repair shop or vehicle service shop. And there's only one variance. The variance is that the proposed use is not a permitted use in conjunction with vehicle repair shop or vehicle service shop in an E zone. We have revised site plan, but we've been advised that that does not change the variances. Community planning has conditions, 5 conditions of approval, including a 3-year limitation on the approval. We have a transportation report with no objection, and we have opposition from 333 Bering. Believes there's significant impact and feels this should be done by way of a zoning bylaw amendment and not through committee of adjustments. So registered to speak is the agent, Mr. Nassari.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Can you just start off by giving us your name? And we don't have anyone registered to speak. We do have that one letter of opposition. In any event, community planning. Are you satisfied with the community planning proposed conditions of approval, sir?
The only issue that we had to run across with the landlord was the landscape strip that they wanted in the front of the property. Besides that, we were able to make all the other adjustments. The land strip was the only portion that the landlord wouldn't approve.
Well, that's one of the suggested conditions of approval. So if committee members feel that that is necessary, can you just, if you feel that that is, can you make some submissions then? If you don't want the committee to impose that as a condition, we need to hear from you on that, I assume.
So what we had suggested was potted plants between every 2 parking spots, which again, the landlord was okay with. The only issue that he had was losing that whole strip of parking space on his property if it was rezoned.
So are you telling me in order to provide that 1.2 meter landscape strip along the southern frontage of the property, they would lose parking spots? Because that would.
This is what the landlord was explaining. Yeah.
Sorry? Because
this is what the landlord had explained. Because any kind of revisions here, we had to run by the landlord before we could do anything.
I see. Yeah.
All of the other ones we were able to do were put the parking spots for the car sales in the back of the building, which we were okay with, limiting it only to 5, which we were okay with, no advertising in the front. Anything that was in our power, we agreed to. The strip was the only thing that the landlord had an issue with.
Yeah, I take it your agent on behalf of the proposed business use, but not the landlord. But obviously, every committee of adjustment application, I assume, was signed off by the property owner, being the landlord.
Correct.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be entitled to make the application. So the landlord was involved, but you're saying you're not having trouble with getting the landlord to agree to that condition number 5. Committee members,
Correct.
any questions for Mr. Nassari, the agent? Ms. Alderson?
I'm looking at Google Maps image from dating back to October 2020. Looks to me like there is a very narrow strip of landscaping. Well, one could call it landscaping. It doesn't really look like much land. There's looks like there's a cutoff tree. There are some overgrown shrubs, but I think that is what they're referencing when they ask for the landscaping strip, that actually could be beefed up a little bit. It does exist. It's there. It just needs to be tended to. So that's, it's kind of a question, but it's a statement too as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Alderson. I appreciate you're always checking Google Maps for us while we during the hearing. I don't have access to that, so that's very helpful. Okay, so any further questions for the agent? And I guess the only issue is he's advising that his client is having trouble with the landlord getting them to agree to condition number 5, but that is a requested condition. So waiting a motion, unless Mr. Nassari, anything else to add, or?
The strip of landscaping that you guys are referring to, that's actually in front of the fence.
So is that on the city boulevard, you're saying? That's like not...
I would say that's on the city property, yeah.
I see. But they're looking to have a landscape strip
behind the fence.
Behind the fence, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, committee members, any more questions or a motion?
To add to that, there are some trees that look like they're growing behind the fence, not in front of the fence. It looks like a little bit of a hodgepodge, but I think there's a possibility for some landscaping to be done there.
Okay. So are you ready to weigh in with a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion, but I'd like to hear from the applicant. I feel compelled to approve this application, but I also feel compelled to stipulate community planning condition 5 regarding this landscaping strip. If we approve this application, including that strip, is this application a non-starter from the landlord's point of view? I mean, is this a waste of his time to get approval with that condition?
Well, Mr. Taylor, my impression would be that if you're inclined to include that condition, and then the applicant can negotiate, work something out with community planning. He mentioned he's proposing maybe putting potted plants between every 2 spots, or so once that condition is on as part of the condition of the approval, then I assume the agent or applicant can go back and see if they can negotiate something that satisfies the planning department. That would just be my opinion.
Very helpful, Mr. Chair. And on that basis, I find the variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests. And I move approval subject to the conditions requested by the Community Planning Department.
Thank you. Seconder for that, Mr. Bellissimo, I see your hand up. All in favor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, our next application is item number 621 Simpson Avenue. It's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 10 variances. Hold on a second. Sorry, there are 12 variances. Didn't scroll far enough. We have a planning rationale, support from 19 next door, and we have urban forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2. Registered to speak on this application is David Engelman, the agent, as well as Sophia Nurse, the neighbor next door at 23.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair, but Sophia Nurse is not online and we were unable to reach her by calling, so she will not be joining today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Engelman.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members.
Good morning. I see you have a planning rationale, and we have, I think, did I see something about letters of approval here, or number 19, right? We have number 19 next door, and we have item number 23 who said they were attending an interest. I'm not sure if they had any concerns or not. Perhaps you may know.
We have not been made aware of any concerns from 23 Simpson Avenue, nor has any documentation been provided to the committee and uploaded to the AIC.
Okay, thank you. I don't believe we need a presentation. Is there anything you'd like to add, or I'll just see if committee members have any questions for you?
Yes, just to clarify, there are originally 12 variances as per the public notice issued for the application. However, we have submitted a revised set of plans and a zoning waiver to clearly, which has amended the application, and a cover letter was submitted to clearly list the amendments as per the original public notice. And all the amendments to the variances have either been a elimination of variances or a reduction of the variances.
Well, hold on a second.
And
we have
I would be
we have 12 variances before us. We don't have in some of the other applications already this morning. We have a revised sheet showing highlighted changes. We don't have that on this one. We have 12 variances.
It has been submitted to the committee, a cover letter which clearly identifies the amendments, as well as a zoning waiver which has been submitted.
Yeah, I see.
So it should be within your package.
Yeah, we have revised plans and revised waiver. Question for staff, do we have a revised notice page? Oh, there it is. Was that not in our package? Or did I miss something?
It's in the additional materials package that I have before me, but I.
Right, so we didn't have that in the additional materials, correct? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, so we now have it up, members on the board. It's funny, so there now is how many variances? It's too far back, I can't read it. So variance 4 has been eliminated. Keep going. I feel like I'm not in my eye test here.
I would be happy to go through these changes if necessary.
Committee members, would you like the agent to go through the changes, since we're just seeing this for the first time? Members, would anyone like Mr. Engelman to go through the changes?
I'm just wondering if could we just read what has been changed? I mean, rather than going through an entire presentation. Yeah, exactly, I've got a list here.
Okay, so again, it's a little far for me. I just had my eye test, but so they changed the second platform.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to read on your behalf?
No, I'm fine. I think it's fine.
I can read on your behalf.
I think we can just is everyone satisfied with the changes, or would you like the agent to go through either the changes or the reasons for the changes? But we now have less variances as shown. Okay, everyone okay? Mr. Engelman, you would like to add anything? It just these were changes where I guess with the request of community planning.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, that is exactly what I would say. There has been extensive consultation with community planning. The revised plans and the zoning waiver have been submitted as a result of consultation with the community planning. And considering no staff report from community planning has been submitted after these revised proposal and zoning waiver have been submitted, I think it is safe to say that they have no concerns with the revised proposal.
Okay, and you're okay with the urban forestry proposed condition of approval, correct?
Yes, number 1 and 2, through you, Mr. Chair, we are okay with that.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any further questions, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Danny Bellissimo would like to move for approval, subject to the forestry condition.
Thank you, sir. Seconded for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. I assume, Neil, you're okay with that? Okay. Neil is on the line and, okay, he is present. So we just can't see him. Okay. Item number 7 is 5 Edenbrook Hill. It's an application for a new rear second-story balcony. There is one variance, the area of the balcony. We have a cover letter, 2 cover letters. We have presentation materials. We have 2 letters of support, and I think that's 3 Edenbrook and 11 Darlingbrook. And that's all we have. Speaker on this application is Martin Rendell. Mr. Rendell.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is an application to convert the existing flat roof above the existing covered porch at the rear, to convert that roof into a rear balcony. It's shown on the site plans and the elevations to give you a visual reference for the proposed new work. Mm-hmm. There is no expansion of the building to accommodate this. It's simply taking the flat roof on the second floor and converting it into a rear balcony. Okay. As the chairs pointed out, the 2 adjacent neighbors to the north and south have reviewed the plans and are in support of the variance, and there are no comments or objections from city staff. Be happy to provide any additional clarification members might require.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rendell. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Rendell?
I'm happy to make a motion if no one has any questions. Motion for approval. I believe it meets the 4 tests. We have 2 letters of support, so I do make a motion for approval with no conditions.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Okay.
I've lost audio.
Yeah, sometime.
Yeah, Michael's back. Michael's back now.
Okay. So, okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rendell. Okay, our next item is item number 8, 24 Hillcroft Drive. And this is for a one-story addition, a second-story addition over the existing dwelling, and increase the existing attached single-car garage to a double-car garage. There are 5 variances on this application. We have a cover letter, 1 letter of support, and a condition of approval being requested by community planning that it be constructed as illustrated on the site plan with respect to the lot coverage, including the rear deck. The agent on this application is Hannah Delarzak, and there are no other speakers registered on this application. Urban Forestry is requesting condition number 2. Okay, is Hannah Delarzak with us?
Yes.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I represent the owners of 24 Hillcroft Drive. And this is a typical renovation, like enlarging the garage and adding the second floor to the existing bungalow. Some conditions result from the existing situation, like setbacks, because we are keeping the existing envelope of the house and adding the second floor over it. So one condition, like 20% of the combined side yards is not met because the existing setbacks are slightly smaller. Also, the variance about the front wall, pieces of sections of the front wall also result from the existing situation that the main floor is quite high above the established grade. It's at 1.2. So adding 2 floors, which everyone requires right now to be 10 feet and 9 feet, results that our house is slightly higher, but the eaves on the 3 sides of the house are at the requested less than 7 meters height. What else? The actual coverage of the house is 33.5% only, but the zoning examiner, for some reason, told me to add the deck and the front porch if it's 5% or more. So it's in fact exactly 5%.
Okay, so you see the planning report. That's why they want to include it to the condition of approval to be constructed as illustrated, including for it relates to lot coverage. So you're okay with that, and you're okay with the urban forestry?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's see if committee members have any questions following that, and or if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion.
Danny Bellissimo can make a motion if there are no further questions.
Okay, no further questions? Okay.
I find that the variance is of minor in nature and move approval subject to the condition by planning and forestries.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Seconder for that motion, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Delarzak. Our next application is item number 940 MATTICE Road. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an integral garage. A previous committee of adjustment application approved variances relating to floor space index, floor area, gross floor area, side yard setback length and depth. That was on November 2016. And we have nothing whatsoever on file other than the materials submitted with the application and obviously a copy of the previous decision. Speaker on this application is Jonathan Benkowski. Mr. Benkowski, welcome.
Morning, sir.
Okay, very straightforward. I get what happened here. They're just coming back for one additional variance.
New owner wanted to change the design. The original approval did not request a height variance. Somewhat of an odd neighborhood in which the actual flat roof provision is only 6.5 meters. Basically, the flat roof provision citywide is 7.2, which is exactly where we are with this proposal, sir.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Benkowski or someone ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion if there are no other questions.
Thank you.
I'm happy to move approval of the one variance for a flat roof with the conditions from urban forestry of number 1 and number 2.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Someone want to second that motion?
Andy Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. All in favor? Unanimous approval.
Yes.
Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Benkowski. Okay, the next application is item number 10, 139 Stanley Avenue. It's an application to construct a 2-story rear addition. There are 3 variances. Planning has a proposed condition of approval to be constructed as illustrated in the site plan. And we have in the additional materials we just received yesterday, we have letters of support from 158 Queens. We have 3 letters of support. We only have one speaker for this application, the agent Kyle Kandra.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes, Kyle Kadra here.
Good morning. Very straightforward application. You're okay with the proposed condition of approval from community planning?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're in support of that.
Is there anything you'd like to add, advise committee members before we take it to see if they have any questions for you?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Kandra or is someone ready for a motion?
Andy Bellissimo is ready to make a motion if there are no further questions.
Yep.
And the variances are minor in nature and move for approval subject to the forestry conditions.
Okay, thank you. Seconded for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. I just need to sound check Neil Palmer to make sure that he's still here.
Yeah, okay. I think on the last application I heard him weigh in with the
Okay.
saying that he was in favor.
Just to double check. Neil, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so next application is item number 11, 42 AILEEN Avenue. It's to construct a new 2-story front addition and a new front porch. There are 6 variances. We have correspondence, drawings, a letter and a map, and we have 5 letters of support. And there are no conditions from community planning or transportation or urban forestry. Okay, speaker on this application, only one, Mike De Oliveira, the agent. Welcome, Mr. De Oliveira.
Hi, my name is Mike De Oliveira. I'm here representing 42 AILEEN Avenue, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Okay, I see you've given us letters of support and a map to correspond with that. Is there anything you'd like to add before we see if committee members have any questions? I see there are no.
I just like to know quickly, we have had correspondence with community planning. We dealt closely with Trista James to adjust the application to be something that they'd be in support of or obviously not give us a report against. So we have done revisions to the drawings, but that's all part of what you're seeing today. That was all done before the public notices went out. So what you're seeing is what they were on board with.
Okay.
So open to any questions.
So any questions for Mr. De Oliveira? Or is someone ready to bring a motion?
Danny Blisman is ready to make a motion if there are no further questions.
I have one question. I have one question. Sorry. This is a semi-detached dwelling, and in the letters of support, is there a letter of support from the actual adjoining property?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bellissimo?
Yeah, I motion to approve the variance to find it minor in nature. I believe there are no conditions, so.
Correct.
Approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Seconder for that? Mr. Taylor? All in favor? We have
Yes.
Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Thank you, everyone. We heard you weigh in there. Okay, item number 12 is 19 Sultan Pool Drive. It's an application to convert the existing dwelling into a duplex dwelling. There is one variance that a duplex unit is only permitted in a detached house. The proposed dwelling unit will be located in a duplex. And we have a planning report, which I am in. It's a good planning report explaining the situation. Very informative. Yeah, it says that explaining how the secondary suite is limited to the something the way it's defined. So the issue is over the definition of a duplex. Perhaps we can hear more about that from the agent, and we do have a condition of approval from planning. Okay, the speaker on this application is Ravinder Singh. Mr. Singh, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. And I'm Ravinder. I'm the agent for 19 Sultan Road.
Okay.
Can
you please, can you please just give us an explanation? There's some discussion here about in the planning report as to a technical issue here that the second unit being limited to internal egress and egress by rear-yard entrance can't be classified as a secondary suite, which is a permitted use under the RZ zone, and as such, the dwelling is being reclassified as a duplex, which is not permitted. So planning is asking for the conditional of approval that the second unit being created shall be limited to the below grade level of the dwelling. Are you satisfied with that?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that's the only condition, so it's a bit of a technicality, it looks like. Committee members, any questions for the applicant or the agent on this application? And if not, is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Mr. Chair, I believe the variance requested meets the four tests under the Planning Act. And I move for approval subject to the condition requested by community planning.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for that?
I'll second.
Palmer. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Okay, item number 13 is 85 Kingsway Crescent. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have a revised sheet highlighted showing the reduction of certain variances, being variances 1 and 2, coverage and gross floor area, elimination of variances 4 and 5, a reduction in variance 6 and variance 9 and variance 10. So we had 10 variants, we now have 8. Planning is recommending refusal of variances 1 and 2 only, which are the major variances, which I'll raise the question with the applicant whether they could possibly build anything without variances 1 and 2, which have already been reduced. Forestry is asking for conditions 2 and 4. And again, I would weigh in that if the committee is inclined to agree with the planner that variances 1 and 2 should be refused rather than reduced, that the entire application should be refused rather than just variances 1 and 2. The agent, Ian Robertson, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would, definitely like to address some of those comments you just spoke about. First thing I'd like to talk about is we actually mentioned we had conversations with planning initially, and our building was larger, which is where they provided their refusal for variances 1 and 2. They submitted their report on the 2 days prior to us submitting our revised drawings, which is what you're looking at now. So planning has not commented on our reduction at this point, just because of logistical timing from when our submission went in.
Okay, so
we had conversations.
Yeah, I see the report is dated May the 25th.
That's right.
And I'm just reading through because this particular, we often see that they discuss, we told the applicant we had concerns, they made some changes, but the changes aren't good enough, so refuse it. Refuse the variance rather than proposing something less, which means that the entire, would you agree with me that if variances 1 and 2 are refused, that there's no point that the entire application should be refused? Or that could you, more importantly, could you build what you plan on building without variances 1 and 2? Which means you would be entitled to 33% lot coverage, and you would be having instead of a 0.8, what you proposed here, you would have a much smaller floor space. And could you do anything with that without variances 1 and 2?
No, we could not. We would want variances 1 and 2 in place, and so that's what I was saying. The actual the planner's recommendation for refusal was before seeing these reductions, right? So they made their proposal, and then we made reductions after that. But after having had conversations with them, they had already submitted their report based on the original application, which was significantly larger. And so they haven't actually provided new comments based on this reduction.
Okay, I understand what you're telling me. However, I would point out to you that planning sometimes, and this planner in particular, sometimes writes in, we've seen the changes, but they're not enough. So I don't know if the planner committee members, just to point out, so you made those changes after the 25th of May.
Yeah, we were working back and forth with them.
So you reduced the coverage from 44.31 to 40.1, and you reversed the floor space index.
Sorry to interrupt.
0.87 to 0.79.
Sorry to interrupt, but there also may be notice issues if you look at variances 9 and 10. I can zoom in here so you can see them better. With the
driveway width is actually less, right? It's a bigger variance.
The percentage has gone down in the proposed for number 9, but the actual meters squared has gone up.
Yeah, that's a little, well, I'll let the agent comment on variance 9 and variance 10. I note as well, thank you staff for pointing that out, that it's actually getting smaller from 4.27 to 3.81, whereas the performance standard is 5.5. So Mr. Robertson, do we have an issue here on that? But like I said, it's only anyone's guess, and I guess it's up to the committee as to whether planning would have been satisfied with this or not. So
yes,
can you please weigh
agree
in on
that
variances 9 and 10, please, as staff has pointed out.
So variance 9, it changed because initially they weren't taking into consideration the walk-up as part of they were taking the walk-up as part of landscape area, and then upon their revised notice, they changed it to include the walk-up. So it was they didn't take that walk-up into consideration the first time, and they did the second time for whatever particular reason. Zoning made that change.
Okay, but do we not have a notice problem because even although the meter squared has gone up and gotten better from 61.13 from 58.98. In fact, the percentage has gone down by 0.5%, and as well in number 10, the driveway width has gotten narrower.
Right. I guess I'm not too sure as far as what the requirements are for recirculation or notice. I think that I'm not too sure who makes that call.
Well, I think we do, and thank you for staff member for pointing that out, that we do have a notice issue here. Committee members, do you agree that we have a notice issue if the applicant wishes to proceed with variances 9 and 10? And again, I don't know if anyone has any opinions on the veracity of the rest of the application based on the changes made, but Mr. Carvalino, would you like to weigh in, please? Mr. Carvalino is participating off-site today.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This notice issue was raised by staff yesterday. The change to the permitted driveway width was as a result of the shrinking of the size of the parking space. I guess the garage was shrunk a bit and the parking space got narrower. So that was what our zoning staff relayed back to us. The house got shorter, so the total amount of rear yard landscaping, the percentage was less, but the square meters was larger as a result. Staff will always recommend that notification be provided because there is a slight change, but I leave it in the hands of the committee to decide if notice is an issue with them. But I would recommend in this case that it would be beneficial to the proponent as well to have planning have a second look at this, because there have been some significant revisions made without the benefit of review from one of our key commenting divisions.
Right, so we have two issues. We don't know if the esteemed planner who wrote the report will be satisfied with these changes. And secondly, we have a small, albeit small, notification issue in variances 9 and 10. I don't think anyone has any, would be the subject of.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I might add one more thing, just I'm not sure what relevance it may have. We have support from 19 of our immediate neighbors stretching up and down our actual street, Kingsway Crescent. So if you're making any sort of executive calls on whether there should be notice sent or not, our neighborhood has been circulated, and we have letters of a substantial number of our friends and colleagues from the area, or neighbors from the area. So should that have any bearing on your decision?
Okay, did I miss anything?
Was that in our package of additional materials? Because we have one, initially we had one letter of support, and that was from the property directly opposite the house in question.
Yeah, I was just
there were
102 Kingsway Crescent is the only letter we have. But in any event, we don't have those before us, so I don't know why it didn't make its way into our package or the supplemental materials.
I believe they were submitted yesterday.
Mr. Chair, I'm sharing the screen now. They were in the additional materials package, but
I didn't see it.
Sorry, not the package that got sent to you. They were sent after that was sent out.
Well, if we don't get it, I don't consider it being in the additional pack materials. Okay, anyway, committee members, we have, I guess, 3 issues. The issue of the planning recommendation to refuse the applicant, refuse variances 1 and 2, which I take as a refusal. We have the notice issue on variances 9 and 10. And we have, so the question is, what do we do? So I'm waiting. You leave it in the committee's hands to weigh in at this point with a motion, unless anyone has any follow-up questions for Mr. Robertson.
Chair Neil Palmer here.
Yes.
I would recommend that we defer this application, allow the applicant to clearly state what the variances are, and allow the planning department to review the revised application so that we have some clear direction or suggestions from planning staff.
Okay. Thank you for that motion.
So my recommending is for deferral.
Okay. For the reasons.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the matter has been deferred, and I think that's the, we can perhaps sort out all those issues. And we'll see you back here again. Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Okay, item 14 has been deferred. so we can move on to item number 15. But before we do that, would staff and members like to take a brief break? I think we're running ahead of schedule. We'll have no problem finishing well before noon in order to have a 1 hour lunch before the 1 o'clock agenda. So let's take a 10-minute break. I see everyone's okay with that.
Chair,
Okay.
can I ask staff
Yes.
to maybe see if they can get me connected?
Yeah, that would be great.
Everyone wants to see my smiling face, right?
Exactly. I miss I miss seeing you up there. Okay. Great suggestion. Okay, we'll see everyone back here at I guess 11 o'clock a.m.
Mr. Palmer. Neil?
Sorry, yes.
Hey, sorry. Can you try
Do you want me to?
exiting the WebEx and then joining back?
I'll do that right now.
And see if that helps. And then if not, I will give you a call.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Neil, you're back in there. I can see you.
All right, I think I'm live.
Oh, and I see we have Mr. Palmer now up on the screen. Okay, can everyone hear me? We're good to go? Everyone can hear me, members? Okay, perfect, okay. Okay, our next application is item number 15, 147 Strathnairn Avenue. It's an application to construct a one-story rear addition with an attached garage. There are 5 variances. We have revised plans and a revised waiver, and we have nothing whatsoever on this application, no comments from city departments or from neighbors. The speaker on this application is the agent, Pedro Casimiro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pedro Casimiro from Innovative Engineering. I'm representing the client at 147 Strathnairn Avenue.
Okay. I don't believe we need a presentation on this. Is there anything you'd like to add before we see if committee members have any questions? I see you basically have 5 variances for this one-story rear addition.
Yes, it's a corner lot. The family wants to expand their current home a little bit and expand. And currently they have an existing garage there, but it's too small for it's not even used as a garage. It's used as a shed. So they're proposing also a wider garage incorporated with the proposal.
Okay. Committee members, any questions of the agent, or is someone ready? Ms. Alderson?
I have in my notes that the 5th variance has been removed, number 5.
Yes, that one was removed. We, as per recommended revisions, was Trista James that I spoke with her, and so I revised the plan.
So technically only 4 variances then?
Right, that's correct. Yes.
And if there are no other questions, I'm happy to make a motion for approval.
Okay.
There's nothing from community planning or any other department, I don't think, so I think we're good. Motion meets the 4 tests, and I'm happy to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Do I have a seconder for that?
Danny Bellissimo.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Casimiro. Okay, our next application is 11 Ashfield Drive. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have a revision notice sheet highlighted showing the revisions pursuant to a waiver, elimination of all of the variances except for the 5, except for the FSI, the floor space index, which again is being reduced from the requested 0.65 to 0.55, where as 0.45 is permitted. So everything has been, those have all been removed. We do have a cover letter, an arborist report, and 2 letters of objection from 15, and the other one was actually didn't give their address, at least that I saw, of those two letters, and we don't know if we'll have to perhaps hear from the agent whether those letters predated the changes that have been made. We do have registered the owner and the agent both on the line. I don't know which one of them will be speaking, as well as the agent, the neighbors at 15 Ashfield and 10 Foxcote Crescent.
I am here. My name is Ranjit Dolan, owner of 11 Ashfield.
So Ranjit, you're going to be speaking and not your agent?
I'm not sure why the agent is not able to connect and why he's not in it yet. And he basically.
That's what the text.
Okay. Hold on a second. Yeah, let me see. Okay, yeah, the second letter we don't know who is from, but we do have the cover letter. We have Urban Forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2. So we only have the 1 remaining variance. So, Mr. Dillon, you're going to be speaking, correct, on this?
Yeah.
Okay. So perhaps, I don't know if you know of whether those letters, we'll hear from the neighbors whether they still have concerns with the elimination of all of the variances except for one, and perhaps you can respond. In the interim, does the committee members have any questions for the agent, the owner at this time? Okay, so why don't we hear from the neighbor, firstly, Mr. and Mrs. Schilling at 15 Ashfield.
I believe my husband's going to speak, Mr. Schilling, and I've been unmuted, Laura Schilling.
Okay, so it looks like even though you're number 15 and it's number 11, there is no 13, so you are right next door, or at least sorry.
Yes, we are, correct.
Yeah, you're right next door there. Okay, so your husband is going to make submissions. Is he available, or?
Yes, if he could just be unmuted, I think that's the.
Oh, okay.
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yeah, we have your letter of rejection, and I just dated May the 27th. As I indicated, it looks like, oh, that's the other letter of rejection. Your letter is dated whenever. In any event, they've eliminated the variances except for one and reduced that one. So the main question is to see whether you still have concerns or not, and if so, let's hear what they are.
Well, basically, we're happy that they've addressed most of this. Thank you very much for that. We really do appreciate that. It really became a question of, this has been a rental property for quite some time now, and we're seeing that there's a walk-up being added, and it's a finished basement, and we were just concerned that this was potentially being looked at as a multiple tenant property type thing, because quite truthfully, it has not been very well maintained. There's building supplies piled up and stuff like that from the current tenant and so forth. And we've lived in this area for quite some time now, and it's very close to our property. So with the walk-up, is this still a concern that this is a rental, especially in the basement portion, because it's not a lot of access to get back to there. Otherwise, we're happy with the reduction of all the remaining stuff. That's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. So, other than 35, about 50 square meters over the floor space index, this application basically complies with the bylaw. So that's the impact, whether there's going to be a basement apartment or there is, I believe, everyone has a right one secondary suite. So that's really not before us at this point. We just have the one variance of 50 square meters. And we expect that otherwise the applicant will comply, whether a secondary suite or a basement suite. If they decide to do that, they would have to do so in compliance with the bylaw.
Okay, but there's no provision in their design for that at this point in time, correct?
Correct. We'll let the applicant can respond to that. Okay, because it's coming to us as a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, which is okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Dillon, would you like to respond to the neighbor?
Yeah, Brian. Sorry, Brian, we briefly met, I'm assuming, when you were at the
Sir,
deck. And
Mr. Ranjit Dillon, please, you address your comments not to Mr. Schilling directly, but you make your comments through the chair.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
So this is Ranjit Dillon, 11 Ashfield. I read the letter our neighbor have addressed, and our original application was submitted back in April, and we have done almost all changes and brought the things in line or even lower than the guidelines, especially like the lot coverage. So only request we are doing is about the floor space index, and we had a talk with the planner, Trisha. I myself had a talk, and I requested her. I said it's me, my kid, my mom, and so we want to have that space. Before that, I would also, regarding the concern for basement apartment or the side entrance, the current house has a side entrance and a finished basement in the house as is. We have not rented it from last 6 years. We could have rented it and generated more income, but we have not done it. In my current house where I'm living now, we have a finished basement, but it's not rented. Same thing we are going to do with the Ashfields. We are finishing it. We are not renting it. Though, I mean, if it was a plan to rent and make as a secondary dwelling unit, we would have applied for the permit accordingly that this is going to be a finished apartment or a secondary dwelling in the house. That's what I would like to say. We also looked at considering looking at the house. It's a 2-bedroom house, so we can't live in this. It's a rundown house. We have to build a new one to move into it. So this is where we are. As far as my current tenants, I saw some pictures, though I didn't see them when I went there actually a couple of times now. But yes, the tenant is a roofer and he has put in that stuff, but they will be gone actually. They're not going to live there once I have the permit and we start demolishing.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions? Actually, Mr. Schilling, I guess is there anything else you'd like to add? I don't know if you finished your submissions, so I'd like to say anything else. And if not, we'll go back.
I really appreciate what is being said, and I thank you very much to the homeowner. As for the building materials, they've been there for pretty much most of those years. There was one time where they were removed, I think, because there was complaints. But it's one of those things that we really appreciate if they're not going to be there in the future. And if it's not being used as a rental, thank you.
Yeah.
There's no further
definitely
on our point.
Okay,
yeah.
so let's next speaker is Bettina Werner at 10 Foxcote Crescent, which is located behind the property.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, Bettina will not be joining us today.
Okay, and we don't know. We did have that second letter from someone we didn't know the address, but the letter didn't have much in substance. Members have that letter. Okay. In that case, does anyone have any follow-up questions for either Mr. Dillon, the owner, or Mr. Schilling, the neighbor, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? We do have Urban Forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2.
Danny Bellissimo is ready to make a motion if there are no further questions.
Go ahead.
I find that the variances are minor in nature and the approval based on the waivers submitted, which is recommendation number 2. There's only one variance. It's item number 2, and conditional on forestry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. Ms. Alderson, thank you. You're seconding the motion. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillon. Thank you, Mr. Schilling. Okay, our next application is item number 17.
Yes, I mean, good afternoon, committee members and chair.
Hold on, please, sir. The application is 44 6th Street. It's to legalize and maintain a second-story rear balcony. A previous committee of adjustment application approved variances relating to floor space index, gross floor area, and first floor height. There is an order to comply. We have correspondence, applicant email. We have revisions, including screening on the balcony. We have two letters of objection from the same address at 40 6th Street, and that neighbor has advised, and we'll have to get to that, that the sign was not posted. The applicant at the outset of the meeting, when I advised that indeed the sign was posted, and they have filled out the sign declaration. So the agent is Tomas Goral, and the neighbor present to speak is Rafael Cuss, who's one of the two people who wrote in from 40 with concerns, objections. Mr. Goral?
Yes, good afternoon, chair, members, and committee members. My name is Tomas Goral. I'm here to represent the owner at 44 6th Street. I'd like to start off by saying that that owner is actually a new owner. He purchased the property from the previous, I guess it was builder, and that they went to committee for the points that were presented that you mentioned. However, there was nothing in regards to the balcony. The balcony was constructed and sold that way. The current owner right now got the surprise from the inspector saying that there needs to be an order to comply because it was done illegally. And for that reason, we're going through the process of legalizing it because he would like to use it. And speaking with the planners agreed that if we were to put 72-inch screens on both sides, that would be okay with them.
Okay, I also like to point out it's a little, what I just read out said we approved 3 variances, but in fact, when you take a look at the decision from September 2016, in fact, it looks like there were only 2 variances. That's besides the point. So you're telling us that, in fact, your client purchased this from the builder, who was the party who applied for the variances September 2016. There was no rear balcony included in that approval, and now your client bought it with the existing balcony, which is oversized.
Correct. Yeah, he purchased it. He's been there 2 years now.
Yeah. Okay, and he found out this only through the order to comply.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And the area of the balcony as built is 14.9. Is it off a bedroom or is it off a common area?
It's off the bedroom, yes.
Okay.
On the second floor.
Okay. So let's, I don't know if you'd like to make a short presentation, or perhaps we can hear from Mr. Cuss. We have his 2, I assume you've read the 2 letters from the neighbors. So
I guess I have, I'd like him to speak and then I can comment on his
Okay.
comments after.
Okay, so let's do that, and unless someone has a question for Mr. Garral in the interim, we do have photos been supplied with the neighbor showing the some photos. Okay, so let's hear from Rafal Cuss. And we do have the letters here.
Good morning, members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. First, I would like to point out that I have submitted a photo on Thursday, May 27th at 1:50 p.m. indicating that there is no signage on the property about the hearing, and I feel that this point should be taken into consideration as anyone applying for a committee of adjustment needs to post a sign 14 days prior to the hearing date. The sign was posted after I have sent the email regards my concerns of the lack of the sign. Now, in regards the balcony, this balcony, further in my letter, I have included photos of what the balcony looks like from my backyard, and it directly looks into the privacy of our own backyard and our living space. I understand that the applicant is adding screens on the sides. However, the large size of this balcony terrace, it is almost 5 times the size of the restrictions. In my house, I also have a backyard balcony. I have kept my balcony to the 4 square meters as permitted, 4 square meters as permitted by the zoning bylaw. It would be my recommendation that the neighboring property would have a terrace that is maybe closer to the representation of what the community guidelines are.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we do have, I just note that we did note at the outset in our materials that there are 3 letters of opposition. In fact, there are 2, and they're both from Mr. and Mrs. Cuss. So the question is, what about the fact that if there is screening added, does that minimize the impact? Like, they're entitled to a 4 square meter. The fact that it's 14, if there's screening, does that reduce the impact on you? Mr. Cuss?
Yes. So the screening will, of course, help reduce that. Nevertheless, I don't know if the committee had a chance to read my full letter of complaint, my full letter of objection
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I'd like you to take that into consideration. But I do see that the screening will be of assistance to help with blocking the privacy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for Mr. Cuss before we go back to Mr. Gural for his rebuttal, including the dealing with the issue of the posting of the notice? Perhaps we want to hear from staff. I assume the signed declaration has been signed. Ms. Alderson, I see you have your hand up for a question.
Yes, I have a question of Mr. Cuss. I'm wondering, you said in your letter that you had issues with noise, and I'm wondering if you have reported that to the city through your local councillor, perhaps for bylaw. There are noise bylaws in effect. So I'm just wondering if you've reported that to your councillor, who would then send out bylaw enforcement.
No, I have not. I have not reported anything. This was the first time I mentioned it.
That is an option for you. I just wanted to let you know that.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions, or let's go back to Mr. Gural for his rebuttal.
Yes. Okay. So in response to that, I would like to say that the three letters are actually from the same household, number 40. So it's from Raphael, the son, Edward, the father, and Nina, the mother. I read the letters myself. I know we're not here to talk about personal issues. They don't they don't get along, so I'm not even going to touch upon that. I'll just mention that they did in fact build in June 27, 2019. They went to committee and they asked for 5 variances for height, building length, building size. They do have a terrace on their 3rd floor, which actually looks into many, many more backyards, and it's much higher and it's all glass. So they actually they're more prying into other people's property than my client. My client's balcony is off the 2nd floor. We did agree to put the screenings, and the screenings are in addition to the cedar trees that he's also going to put on the side to create some more privacy.
Okay. And the notice, you signed the notice declaration that the sign was posted, correct?
The homeowner, yes.
The homeowner, of course, yes, the homeowner, not you. Okay. Committee members, any further questions for either party, or is someone ready for a motion?
Any Bellissimo would like to make a motion? I find that the current condition is a difficult one. The owner bought something that was illegal, and the owner has submitted a revised plan to deal with the issue of privacy, and I think that's the only solution at this point without tearing the whole deck down. So I would like to move for approval based on variance number. Well, there's no number, it's just a one variance for the size of the platform with no conditions.
Okay, before we get to a second, question for staff, do we need to impose the condition on the screening, or is that already shown as part of the submission? Or should that be imposed of screening on both sides of the
It's Michael, it's on the plans, revised plans.
It's in the revised plans? Okay. But
yes, it is.
Should we perhaps tie it to those plans? That's my only question, because obviously screening is very important here, because we've had some issues.
I'm agreeing to clarify that as my motion can be as per the revised submitted plans, and that would cover that.
Okay, but I think we should specifically have wording that says including opaque screening to a height of 1.5 meters on both sides of the deck. I don't know if they're east or west.
The screening, it's 72-inch. Privacy screening is what's noted on the drawing, so I will move that it include the 72-inch privacy screening on both sides of the deck, on the sides.
I see staff nodding, but I think we normally deal in meters. Unfortunately, I don't, but I prefer thinking in feet and inches, but I think planning goes by meters. So the standard is
Oh, okay. Then
1.5.
I would revise it to 1.83 meters. That's what's on the drawing.
Right, but I think the typical, can staff assist, I think the typical is 1.5. That would be higher than the requirement. The typical requirement, I just throw
Through
that
you,
out
Mr.
there.
Chair.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair. If the plan shows 72 inches that they've been reviewed, our
Yes.
standard is 1.5, but the screen can be higher. So if you want to have the screen as reviewed by community planning, we'll make the change to that higher screen.
Okay, it's up to Mr.
That would be my motion.
That's your motion, Mr. Bellissimo?
Yes, it is. 1.83 meters as per the drawing submitted in the revised plans of May 27th, 2021.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, a second for Mr. Bellissimo's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Gorell, and thank you, Mr. Cuss. Okay, our last application of the morning agenda is number 1899 Clement Road. And this is an application for a detached dwelling with an attached, I'm sorry, no. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. It is to construct a partial second-story addition and a one-story rear addition to the existing attached garage. There are two variances, and we have nothing whatsoever on this application. No comments from neighbors, no comments from city departments. Speaker is Rick Bongers, agent. Mr. Bongers, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Okay, very straightforward application. Would you like to basically dealing with the soffit and main wall height, the overhanging
Yes.
eaves, and that's all you're asking for. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Bongers or someone ready for a motion? There are no conditions.
Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval without conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Bongers. And we stand adjourned until 1 p.m. to do the 1 p.m. Hearing agenda matters, and everyone have a good lunch. Extra long.